I present to you, for your discernment, the visions and prophecies of Father Oliveira, a Brazilian priest who lives in Rio Grande do Sul, southern Brazil. This material comes from True Faith, a Catholic site in that country. To the best of my belief, these visions and prophecies have not been translated into English. For years, Father Oliveira has received mystical visions and prophetic revelations from God. You may be interested to know the literal meaning of Father Oliveira's surname. Oliveira means olive tree. Can find many oliveiras in the Mount of Olives. The accounts below are about the visions he had, described in his own words. Father writes in Portuguese in a colloquial style that is simple and clear to understand. I have simplified some expressions further for clarity, but the sense of each phrase remains faithful to the original. In this part of the dream, someone started to question everything, saying things like, "This is not necessary. It's an exaggeration." They've already said on television that this was going to happen, and I always ended ordering them to continue doing the work. Two details that happened every time were looking at my reflection in a window and noticing my white hair and beard, and whenever we were almost done closing everything, some acquaintance arrived at the last minute and great relief was felt. The dream sequence remained the same. From that point on, everything was very dark. I couldn't make out the faces of everyone in the house. The number seemed to be between 20 and 30 people. A light was turned on, always in the center. The first time I dreamed, there were candles, about 5 or 6, large and small, placed in the center of the room. At other times it was a fireplace. This was repeated a lot, but always with candles in front, or emergency lights along with candles. In the third part of the dream, everyone gathered in the dark, with some small light in the middle. Everyone had a rosary in hand. Someone always said at this moment that it's too cold, and my answer was the same: it's already started, we better pray and keep silent. After that moment came the worst part of the dream. I began to hear noises like lightning and thunder. Sometimes it sounded like bombs going off, strong wind and whistling. Through the few cracks that remained, you could see the light flashing from these rays or bombs. It is difficult to know where the light was coming from. The fear we felt was great at that time. There was a tremor in the house through the floor and walls. The sequence continued in a disturbing way. I started to hear screams and a lot of noise outside, as if a lot of people were running through the streets. There were gunshots, things breaking, people screaming, sounds of animals such as pigs, horses, and oxen. If I could describe this sound as the sound of hell, I wouldn't hesitate to call it that way. At this moment, someone always approached the window, as if wanting to spy on what was going. Outside the house, I would get up and immediately say, "Stay away from the windows, don't look out." The dream always ended the same way. I was gathered with some people, around a small light, locked in a house, with this hell going on outside, everyone looking at the candlelight. Sitting on a small stool, I kept saying to myself, "We only have to endure 3 days, in 3 days it will pass." I never dreamed beyond this moment. Either he woke up earlier, or at that very moment.